common misconception is that the time when you procrastinate studying the most is in the beginning, a month or two before the start of the exam season. That's because usually it's hard to get the ball rolling, but a time when procrastination is very prevalent, yet a lot of people don't really pay attention to it, is right in the middle of the exam season. Considering you've done everything right, in the middle of the exam season, you would have been studying for a month or two already. And then let's say that you're studying for 2 or 3 hours a day. It could get to the point where in the middle of the exam season, you're on the brink of burnout. That's why the mid-exam season breakdown is very common. It's when you can't really get yourself to study, even when you know that you have a couple of important exams left. So here's exactly how I would beat the mid-exam season rut back in my GCSE and A-level days. Now before I start, if you're an OG of the channel, then this setup might be very familiar. It's my setup back home. It's where I used to record videos before I went off to uni. So let me know which one you like more. Personally, I think that this one is a bit more nostalgic, but the other one's just better overall. Anyways, the first thing we need to do to beat our enemy, which is procrastination, is to understand it. Our bodies don't want to prevent us from doing beneficial things like studying or reading or going to the gym, but most of the time we give it no choice. Through things like TikTok and YouTube and Instagram and Netflix and all that stuff, we've hijacked our dopamine system in our brain. So now if my baseline dopamine level is inflated because of all of the TikTok and the YouTube and Instagram that I'm consuming, if it's inflated, how do I then expect it to go down here and stay down here while I'm studying? I think about it, most of the time when you're procrastinating, you're not just sitting down and staring at a wall. It's probably on your phone or on your laptop doing something dopamine heavy. So how do we overcome this? Well, quite simply, we just need to detox ourselves, especially in the exam season. Now there's hundreds, if not thousands of videos on dopamine detoxes out there on YouTube, and you should probably check some of them out. But me personally, when I had exams coming up, I'd completely delete Instagram off my phone. Doing this alone gave me an extra hour and a half or 2 hours of productive time that I wouldn't waste on Instagram. And if you think that it's too hard, you need to check your DMs or check what your friends are up to, then just use the browser. This is a little life hack that I've always preached. If you just use the browser, you can still check your DMs, you can still check posts and stuff, but it's so unoptimized that you don't want to spend more than 10 minutes at a time on the browser compared to the app. Now, deleting TikTok is going to be 100 times more important than deleting Instagram. Me personally, I never really use TikTok. I use Instagram more. But I know that TikTok, once you get into it, can become very addictive. Now, the problem with TikTok as well is that it's purely brain rot. You don't really use the DMs as much compared to Instagram, and you just keep scrolling. Instagram, you can check stories, you can check normal posts and all that stuff. TikTok is optimized to just ruining your attention span. Now, a week or two after deleting all of that junk, you're gonna notice that you're more sensitized to dopamine. You'll be more focused. Little things will make you happier, like having a conversation with a friend or a family member, or just drinking a coffee. It will just hit different. I can't really explain it. And that's a sign that your dopamine detox is working. Now, what's interesting is that when you study, you actually do receive some dopamine from engaging with information and solving questions and all of that stuff. But usually, when your baseline, like we said before, is so high, then the studying that you're doing, it's much lower than your baseline. So it's hard for you to focus. So your brain always looks towards your phone so it could get more dopamine. But when you're more sensitive, your baseline drops probably to the level or even below studying. So when you study, you're actually quite focused and you enjoy it. Now you might say, well, I follow the Pomodoro technique. So what's the harm in using that time between cycles to just scroll through my phone to relax? Now don't get me wrong, the time between cycles when you use the Pomodoro technique should be used to relax. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that you should brain rot. And so what I would do after a Pomodoro cycle is that I would do something healthy yet relaxing. That could be anything from going on a short walk, talking to a friend or a family member, or what I've been doing lately, which is learning something light yet still useful and interesting and fun. That's why I decided to partner up with Rosetta Stone. Last summer, I went to Turkey and I was genuinely mind blown by the country. I've never seen a country with so many different things to do. Food, the nature, the history. You could go on a hike, you could go ski, you could go to the beach. Now honestly, I kind of got overwhelmed with all of that stuff to do. Of course, I didn't do all of it, but eventually I want to. And that's why I think I'll be going back to Turkey soon. And so I said, why not immerse myself in their culture and learn the language? And there's no better way to do that than using Rosetta Stone. Rosetta Stone doesn't really rely on translations, but instead it unleashes your natural language abilities by teaching you a language in an immersive and intuitive way. And that helps you tap into your brain's natural ability to learn languages, sort of in the same way you learned your first language. Now, on my first couple of lessons on Rosetta Stone, I was surprised by how little I had to press the translate button, because the methods that they use give you an intuitive sense of what the phrases mean. Now, my personal favorite feature is the speech recognition, which tests your pronunciation and gives you real-time feedback. Here's me trying it.
Meyve suyu.
Meyve suyu. I'm insane. First
Çay.
time. Chai. What?
Çay.
Chai? Okay. Now this is a killer feature because you could easily learn how to read or write a language. But the thing that distinguishes the natives from the foreigners is the pronunciation. And Rosetta Stone makes it so that you don't need to pay a teacher a ton of money just to get the pronunciation right. Now something else I love about the app is that the lessons are usually less than 10 minutes long. And that means I could easily complete a lesson between my Pomodoro cycles, or frankly, in any place at any time. We've partnered up to give you an exclusive discount, up to 60% off their lifetime subscription. That gives you access to your choice of 1 out of 25 languages that they have for just £99 instead of $299. If you're interested, click the first link in the description right now to get that discount. Thank you, Rosetta Stone. And now back to the video. Now, studying isn't meant to be a blast. It shouldn't be that fun. But at the same time, it shouldn't really be a snooze fest either. If your brain is engaged, you won't be bored. Effective studying means really getting your brain involved. So if you're just yawning through your session, then something's wrong. For example, imagine you're just reading and highlighting the whole time. Of course, you're going to be bored out of your mind. And not only that, when that's the majority of your studying, you're going to end up tying studying to boredom. And so next time you try to even think about studying, all you're going to be thinking about is how boring it is. Now, flip that. Suppose that you're studying actively, learning stuff out, flipping through flashcards, doing exam questions. Your brain's engaged, and subconsciously, you start tying studying in your brain to being focused and achieving things. And that makes it way easier to beat procrastination next time you want to study. Now, changing your mindset about studying also helps a lot. When you're about to study, instead of saying or even thinking to yourself, ugh, I gotta go study, still gotta do a lot of flashcards and then grind practice questions, it's gonna be boring. Instead, try thinking, you know what, I'm about to go study so that I can do well on that exam and then I can get into a good uni, which eventually will lead me to getting a good job. Try to think of the outcome. Keeping your eyes on the outcome makes the smaller steps easier. Think of someone that goes to the gym to lift weights. They're not going to say, oh, I gotta go to the gym so I can just move some weights up and down. They'll tell themselves, I gotta go to the gym and lift some weights so that I can look good, I can look big, and I can finally have that dream physique. That's the mindset that pushes them through the pain and exhaustion. The same mindset can be applied to studying, and that mindset can push you through all of the procrastination and the feelings of burnout. Also, one of the best ways to beat procrastination is just to make your studying more efficient. Here's an analogy. If you want to buy something, are you going to procrastinate buying it from a store or online more? From a store, right? Because online it's easy, right? You just pull out your phone, you go on the website, add to cart, put the address, and then you buy. And then within 2 days or whatever, it will be in your house. If you're trying to buy it from the store, then, well, you gotta get dressed, you gotta commute, you gotta go to the place, check if it's there. Maybe it's not there, so you need to go to a different branch, commute there, and then come back. That whole process takes way longer. And because that process takes longer, because it's less efficient, that then means that your brain is way more likely to procrastinate, even though the outcome is the exact same, which is getting your hands on the product. Same thing is applied to studying. If your studying is very inefficient, it takes you 4 hours to get in really 1 hour's worth of studying in, then your brain is going to procrastinate it a lot more. That's why you need to streamline your studying routine. Drop all of the passive studying techniques like reading and highlighting and coloring in your notes. Use the 80-20 rule. It states that 80% of the results will come from 20% of the actions. And so that means that 80% of the grade that you get, 80% of the marks that you get on any exam will be from 20% of the studying that you did. And so if you can find that 20% and make it 100%, then you're going to make your studying way more efficient and get the same results, if not better. And what's that 20%? Well, it's basically what I've been talking about for my whole YouTube career, but I've compiled it all and also more into the ultimate guide to acing your GCSEs. So if you want to check that out, it's going to be the second link in the description. Anyways, if you follow those steps, then I have no doubt that you can beat procrastination and get those top grades.